Hello and welcome to This Week at the Movies. I am Matt, and let me tell you, for a holiday weekend, things are packed both in theaters, limited, and on streaming. I have six films I'm going to talk about today. We are getting increasingly busier as we move throughout January. Of course, Academy Award nominations will be announced on Thursday. That'll likely bring even more Best Picture contenders either back into theaters, or for some people, getting to see them the first time. That is the case with one of the films I'm talking about today that is finally getting a wide enough release that everyone can go see it. But I'm going to kick off with what is decidedly the biggest release of the weekend, and that is the follow up to 28 Years Later. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. This is the second of a planned trilogy that is basically adding to this franchise that had 28 Days Later, 28 Months Later. Last summer, we got 28 Years Later. And if you recall, that was not my favorite film. This one, again, written by Alex Garland, but instead of Danny Boyle, we have Nia DaCosta in the director's chair. And this really follows two tracks that were laid out in that original film. The first is Sir Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell, a kind of grimy Satanist with a cult of followers who happened upon Spike, played by Alfie Williams, at the end of the first film as it picks up. He is being offered a chance to be ingratiated in this group. They are a very violent and kind of gross group, not a great group to be a part of, but Spike ends up getting consumed in there. They are following Jimmy, played by Jack O'Connell. Kind of a charismatic and dark character, but there is one of the group of Jimmys that seems to have taken Spike under his wing. That's a Jimmy played by Aaron Kellerman. The second track is we again follow Dr. Kelson, played by Ray Fiennes, pictured here in one of the more interesting sequences of this film. And he is continuing his life and his work in the temple that he created, the Memento Mori that he created. But he is particularly drawn to one of the alphas nearby that he had dubbed Samson. He begins to have a sort of friendship, curiosity, and begins to wonder whether this rage virus that has taken over the area is something that could maybe be controlled and or cured. Could he be onto something? Well, as you might expect, these two storylines end up clashing. DaCosta has a varied directing career. She's done everything from The Marvels to last year's Hedda, which was a more serious drama that got some awards play conversation. She does a very good job here. For me, the struggle has always been kind of the world and the story. I wasn't a huge fan of the first couple in this franchise. I really didn't care for 28 Years Later. I thought it had a fantastic ad campaign, one of the better trailers of the year, but the movie just didn't hit for me. But my favorite part of that movie was Fiennes' character and Kelson, and that remains my favorite here. We spend a lot more time with him. That part of the story arc was a lot more interesting. I think Jack O'Connell gives a great performance. I really like Aaron Kellerman, but the story of the Jimmys is very violent, very dark, oftentimes very gross, and that doesn't hit for me and my personal taste. But there was enough here that I was fascinated. The final sequence near the end, some of the work that Fiennes does is pretty incredible. Some of the payoff to his storyline is pretty incredible. And it ends with a tag that sets up the potential third film. And I'm really actually kind of more interested in that now as well. I am giving this one a mild thumbs up, which is a surprise for me because I was pretty well thumbs down on 28 Years Later. But The Bone Temple was more interesting, had a more engaging story than I was expecting. I had more fun with it. Obviously going to be the biggest movie of the weekend. If you are a fan of the franchise, you're going to be all in. But even if you weren't really wild about the last installment, give this one a try, because that was certainly the case with me. And I found more that I liked here. Ray Fiennes, just such a treasure. The second movie I'm going to talk about is Going Wide. This week got a limited release in 2025 to qualify for awards. Don't think it'll be in that awards discussion, but that is Dead Man's Wire. This film comes from Gus Van Sant. It is based on a true story. It takes place in February of 1977 when Tony Curtis, played here by Bill Skarsgård, absent, some of the makeup and effects that he's had in horror movies and franchises like It and the remake of The Crow. He's just kind of an everyday average man here, a man who is on a mission, a little bit frustrated. He feels like a mortgage company misled and defrauded him, and he's about to lose everything. He wants them to make it right. He's been pleading with them to make it right and hasn't got a lot of traction. So he walks into the office expecting to meet with the owner and proprietor, played by Al Pacino, but the owner and proprietor is on vacation. He gets his son instead, Dick, who is played by Dr. A. Montgomery, who you would have seen on Stranger Things. But Tony, he carries out his plan. He uses a device known as a dead man's wire to help take Dick hostage, gets him back to his apartment, and for a few days has a standoff with police, with this company, is able to voice his frustration through a local radio disc jockey, Fred Temple, played by Coleman Domingo. Tries to share his grievances, gets some of the public behind him because they feel like he's gotten a raw deal. And he's just trying to get an apology. He's trying to get things made right. He's trying to protect himself, but maybe going about it the wrong way. When you see it's a movie from Gus Van Sant, you're probably thinking something different, maybe something a little tricky, more engaging. This is a little bit of a straightforward kind of period drama. It has its moments. I enjoy Bill Skarsgård. I thought it was nice to see him play kind of a more everyday man. Coleman Domingo was having a ball at the end of 2025, kind of playing these tangential, basically narrator voice of the people. We saw him doing that in Running Man. We see him doing something similar here. He's great in those roles. This movie goes on a little bit too long. Al Pacino is a big name. He's been a good actor, but he's kind of hamstrung here. His character is basically on vacation, detached from the main plot. We see him kind of calling in, doing a lot of his acting and emoting against the phone, which doesn't totally work for me. This movie felt longer than it was. It has some intrigue, it has a basic premise, but they can't really veer too far from the actual true events. I'm giving this one a thumbs neutral. I thought it had some moments. It's interesting, but it just didn't live up to what maybe I thought the potential might be. Well, those are a couple of the big ones in theaters. The other probably biggest one this weekend is a movie called The Rip. And anytime you have Matt Damon and Ben Affleck together, it is going to generate some buzz. This one is actually streaming on Netflix, dropped yesterday in the morning. It comes from writer-director Joe Carnahan, who knows his way around a good action film. It's set in Miami. Both Damon and Affleck are cops. Damon, Lieutenant Dane Dumars, Ben Affleck, Sergeant J.D. Byrne. They are part of a TNT unit, tactical narcotics team in Miami. As it opens, the captain who's over that unit, played by Lena Esco, is murdered. So they are reeling from her death. They are also trying to figure out who did it and trying to figure out what this new crew is. There are other detectives in their team, played by Stephen Yun, Tiana Taylor, and Catalina Sandino Moreno. They work alongside a DEA agent who's played by Kyle Chandler, FBI agent who happens to be Affleck's brother, played by Scott Adkins. This is a pretty loaded cast, but they get a tip about a stash house in a neighborhood where there are some rumors of corrupt local cops. So the team goes to check it out. The person in that house, played by Sasha Callie, Desi, says it's her grandmother's house. It's in probate. She doesn't know anything about it, but it turns out to be holding an awful lot of cash, and that quickly makes them targets. And we get a lot of suspicion. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who on the team might be dirty, what their motives are at times. Damon and Affleck's characters seem to be at odds. You don't know what all is going on. It has a lot of action, a few twists at the end. I wasn't incredibly shocked by some of the twists, but an incredible cast. As I mentioned, Joe Carnahan, pretty used to these kind of action films. I mean, he previously gave us Narc, Smoke and Aces. last year, Shadow Force. He's good at these action kind of thriller films. And this one certainly has its moments. Anytime you have Affleck and Damon, it's a little bit of fun. This one pretty much lived up to my expectations. I'm giving it a mild thumbs up. I had fun with it. I don't think it was an incredible movie. I don't know if it was incredibly memorable, but it's definitely a fun ride. And it's also fun that it's streaming. If the weather's kind of crappy, you have this kind of fun new movie you can check out. Netflix so far 2 for 2 on its January release. I really enjoyed The People We Meet on Vacation last week. I enjoyed The Rip, 2 very different movies, but getting off to a strong start, giving you some options on the streaming platform. So The Rip, definitely one that is worth checking out. Next up, another one that's in theaters. This one is an anime. It's called All You Need Is Kill. It is based on a popular manga of the same name. This one is being offered both in a dubbed English and in a subtitled version. I actually saw the subtitled version. I know both are playing at my local theater, both probably playing at your local theater too. It's kind of set a little bit in the future. You follow a couple people who are part of a defense force. Rita, voiced by Aya Makami, and Keiji, who is voiced by Natsuki Hanai. And they end up finding themselves caught in a time loop as an alien species invades and tries to dominate and take over Earth. And they have to find a way to repel it. They keep dying and resetting the day and go through it a lot of times. These are pretty tried and true sci-fi concepts, which was refreshing. Even if you are not familiar with the original manga, this idea of an alien invasion, a time loop, some trying to figure out how to help things survive, that is going to be kind of tropes and genres that people are familiar with. I certainly was. I was not familiar with the original manga, but I got pulled into this pretty quickly. It also doesn't wear out its welcome, and it's only about 82 minutes, so it moves at a pretty good pace. It has some decent animation, some very brilliant use of color, so a lot of fun. This one probably not the greatest film for kids. I believe it is rated R for violence and for some bloody images, so it's not exactly kid friendly, but it is adapted from the same source material as Edge of Tomorrow, so that same idea is present here. You will get those Edge of Tomorrow vibes, but this one actually more faithful to the source material, which, as I mentioned, is that original manga. I had fun with it. I'm giving it a mild thumbs up as well. Definitely surprised. These anime features have become more and more common. We're getting a lot more of them, and some of them have been quite big and quite popular, especially with younger viewers. I can see this one doing quite well as well, getting out to a quick early start. I'm going to stick to theaters for the next one, and this is one that is one of the big awards players. It opened in limited release all the way back in November, but it has kind of slowly leaked into theaters. Just got a big pump from the Golden Globes, and that is the drama Hamnet from Chloe Zhao. It is based on the popular novel. It is focuses on William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes in their struggle with grief after the loss of their son Hamnet, and how that fueled the creative juices for Shakespeare, played here by Paul Mescal, to write his most popular and famous work, Hamlet. This one, a great drama, slowly paced, beautifully shot. Jessie Buckley plays Shakespeare's wife. She is incredible. She also won the Golden Globe last week. This won for Best Drama. Buckley won for Best Actress. So it's definitely getting a lot of buzz. A lot of people read the novel. It was a fairly popular novel, so I wouldn't be surprised if that speaks to a lot of people as well. So this is one that you're going to be curious to check out. It is finally going a little bit wider. I saw it back in November. I loved it. I reviewed it on this show around Thanksgiving when it was first getting its theatrical push. A big, strong thumbs up. I would expect this to be one of the Best Picture nominees when that gets announced on Thursday. I think it is certainly a movie worth checking out. Has just a devastating and very emotionally powerful and captivating final act. So excited that more people are getting a chance to see it. So if Hamnet opened near you and you've been waiting for it, now is the time to go out and check that one out. One last film to touch on, this one in limited release, will soon be dropping on Shudder IFC. They have made a big inroad the last few years doing these horror movies that are getting short theatrical runs and then get a prominent place on the streaming service. One that is opening limited release in theaters this week is the new film Night Patrol, getting their 2026 kicked off. This one probably a little different, a little maybe more conventional than what you're thinking, at least at the outset. It's basically about some corrupt LAPD cops and some gang members. It seems to be moving towards some kind of a LAPD gang, square off, face off. Justin Long and Jermaine Fowler are a couple of LAPD officers. You see some other guys like RJ Seiler, who part of the gang. They start to be squaring off, but there are definitely some twists in here. It goes probably in some places that you are not expecting. The pieces are there, but this one, a lot of cliches, a lot of weird tropes. The second half of the movie is essentially an all-out bloodbath once a few of the twists have been revealed and the sides come in close combat. I like the actors. I thought there was maybe some potential in some of the early premise, but it just never quite clicks for me. This one is a thumbs down. I think if you're a hardcore fan of these horror films, especially of the Shudder brand, you may end up wanting to catch it on streaming. I don't know that I would make a special point to go try to find this in theaters. I did not see it playing in my local theater. I know it's in limited release, so it might be a little harder to find in theaters, but should be out on Shudder streaming soon. Again, there was some potential, but it does not all come together for me, and I'm not exactly sure what they were going for here. Definitely a wild story, kind of a wild premise. Just again, just does not land the way that they were hoping for. So that one, probably the only true miss for me this weekend. So just a quick recap: Bone Temple, mild thumbs up, now playing in theaters. Dead Man's Wire, thumbs neutral, finally now open in theaters. Interesting, based on a true story. The Rip, a mild thumbs up. I had fun with that one on Netflix. All You Need Is Kill, a mild thumbs up, a different kind of anime film, a little bit violent, something to check out. Hamnet, a big thumbs up. That one now opening finally wider in theaters. And Night Patrol on limited release, soon to be on Shudder. That one a thumbs down for me, did not quite work. So that'll do it for this week. As I said, it was a packed weekend, a holiday weekend, a lot of options out there. So hopefully you find something that you can sink your teeth into, literally or metaphorically. For those of you that are excited, it is the National Popcorn Day tomorrow on Sunday. Going to be a big popcorn bucket day at Cinemarks and other chains where you can get a lot of popcorn for a little bit of money. So that'll be something fun to check out as well. Until then, we'll see you guys at the movies.